All right, good meeting. Good evening, everybody. Call the meeting, the Swanton Selectboard meeting to order for July 6, 2020 at 7 o'clock here at the town clerk's. First, we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nobody out joining us by Zoom, just to remind people here in attendance, this meeting is recorded. Agenda review. Anything to add? I have nothing. Ed?
No, I'm good.
Elizabeth?
I'm good.
Earl?
Yep.
David?
Under Old Town business at E, Bill McDonough just emailed me a change order for the windows at Premium Square. He needs an answer. I'm willing to proceed with it or not. You'll look right now.
Kathy, any additions?
I'm good, thank you.
For minutes related to June 15, 2020, entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes of the June 15, 2021 regular select board meeting by Zoom.
I hear a second.
I will second.
I hear a first and a second. Any objections to any of them? Take a vote. All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimous. Public comment. Nobody here for Zoom. Anybody in the audience for public comment? No public comments?
I have a question.
Yes, Amy.
Yes, my question is, I'm wondering if the town and the village are considering an inclusion declaration.
And pertaining to, what are you asking exactly, Sandy? To what?
So I think probably Elizabeth and the chief would be familiar with the inclusion declarations that many towns and municipalities are making. And it addresses, basically it's a statement welcoming everyone, no matter what your color, your race, your gender, and many of the municipalities, Milton just did one, South Hill just did one, they're working on one in Burlington and one in St. Albans. Feel that it is also a good tool to bring businesses into town. And I won't take up your time going on about this, but all you need to do is Google Vermont inclusion declarations, and there'll be a lot of information there.
Franklin started it. I believe it was Franklin, and actually I think they mirrored theirs off of somebody else, but in Franklin County, Franklin has done one. And they came to the NRPC Board of Commissioners just to talk about it and offer it out there as a template if anybody's interested in doing one.
Yeah, I don't think that there's been a direct discussion that I know of. It certainly sounds like a great idea, something that we could probably get together on.
It would be nice for the town and the village to work on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So noted. Anybody else? More comments on the speak? All good. I'll move on to law enforcement. Chief Still.
It's coming.
We'll have to.
Alright. So during the month of June, we stopped 22 vehicles and issued 22 warnings to those vehicles. We stopped another, turn page, another 11 vehicles that resulted in traffic citations with a fine amount of $1,737 for those issued fines. Then during the month of June, we responded to 124 complaints, and a bunch of those are property watches. Direct patrols in there.
Yep.
Some different areas in the town that were asked for.
Any questions for the chief still?
No, I'm glad to see that, Chief. And I am also happy to report to you that I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I haven't had any emails or any calls in regards to complaints for your offices so far this month. So that's
Good.
I don't want to, I don't want to talk too loud,
I
but
don't want to jinx me.
at this point, I wanted to pass that on to you. So that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the number of hours, chief, how many were out patrolled, or how many were pulled away for courts? Or
I don't have that. I didn't do a breakdown.
Okay.
Court would not be included in there. Court is in addition to our normal patrol hours because it's during the daytime. What I've been doing is trying to do every other month, breaking down the specifics of, because under our current system, it's a lot of work. I literally have to go call by call by call and then look at logs and stuff to figure out that time frame of how long they were actually there and stuff. The new system that was supposed to be in effect as of this month, the Valcor system,
Right.
has better reporting, and that will be literally a few keystrokes to have those reports done up. But that's been pushed back to August 1 because of some of the glitches that they're having in rolling out that system statewide. I mean, some agencies are already up and running because they were on it. So what's happening law enforcement wise is initially every law enforcement agency in the state was on what we call the CAD-REMIS system. And several Chittenden County agencies didn't like CAD-REMIS because it was clunky, it was old. So they started using systems from Crosswinds called Valcor. And the state got together 18 months ago and said we need to go back to one state system. We realized that CAD-REMIS is outdated, so the state police pushed for Crosswind with the legislators, and first time Vermont legislation has mandated a single system where they've actually paid for it versus dumping that cost to the municipalities. So they're paying for all the changeover, all the training, all the software to switch everybody over to a single system. And the nice thing about that is it's a modern system, so it has a lot more robust reporting, a lot more robust time tracking, those kinds of things. So we can literally know to the second how long people are on traffic stops.
Right.
We can instantly generate biased data to see if the officers are acting in a biased manner toward the type of stops that they're making. We can literally, if somebody were to, with that system, were to call up and say, how many complaints were there, say in the general Hog Island Road area, we'd be able to pull that up, given day, given month, time. I mean, it's so much more robust. So that'll be much easier for us in a couple of months that we can really give you a lot more data as to where officers are actually spending their time and what type of calls they're actually spending that time on.
And I certainly recognize myself where the officers are more often. As I said, I'm always out and about places and recognize out in places normally I haven't seen as much, so I certainly appreciate that effort. I know at summertime speeding is up and everything above.
I mean, right now it's a little more visible than winter months because during the winter months it's dark, so it's harder to see the vehicles.
Any other questions for Chief?
I had one citizen from actually Hog Island on Lakewood Drive that is concerned that people are still speeding quite a bit on that road. Especially on the more towards the southern end, probably halfway where it starts getting crowded and all the camps are close to the road. He says he's never seen anybody there during the day. It's not possible to have somebody patrol that or just go down there once in a great while during daylight hours.
Well, the thing is, we don't have our contract at night, so we don't patrol that during the daytime. But I will see if I can get some of the guys to do some of the directed patrol from our highway safety money during the daytime. The problem with our highway safety money is that it has to be targeted for roads that have crash problems. Lakewood Drive doesn't have a crash problem. You know, compared to like Cushing Road, you know, 105, those types of roads that have, you know, more frequent crashes. We have had several complaints on Lakewood Drive of a specific vehicle. I think it's a red Civic that's doing a lot of speeding in that area. So we're trying to figure out who that is and at least have a chat with that person, see if we can to stop it. Living on the southern end of Lakewood Drive, I noticed the increase in speed myself.
Would it be any help to put a speed machine down there, at least have it there to slow the traffic down? Or would that help without having a direct?
Yeah, we can definitely work in, I'm not even sure where it is right this second.
Spring Street, I might be able to just save a little bit of manpower and see what's.
The other thing, Chief, that Mark had brought up once before, I don't know if there'd be a possibility out there, would we be able to put a car out there? Not necessarily manned it, but.
It's perfect.
Yeah. Is that possible, or?
That is, I'm not saying anything is impossible.
Yep.
I will look at the data. I know areas that have done that and been successful, areas that have done that and not had any success with it. It doesn't take long to realize there's nobody in it.
Yeah, when it's that third or fourth time when there is somebody there and
Yeah.
they see it and just think, ah, it's an empty car, and they say, no, it's not. I think it could be the positive that come out of that, so to speak.
I will let you know if we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, anything's possible. I just got to look at what's going on and what we have for cars available and that kind of stuff.
Any other questions for Chief?
On the new computer system that you're going to be installing, is that going to give us an idea of how much time is going for patrolling roads and how much is going for citizens' calls?
So the number of hours on patrol, that would be hypothetical. And what I mean by hypothetical is it wouldn't say the officer actually drove around for X number of hours. What it will give me is how many hours are free and how many hours they actually spend in the office doing paperwork, doing complaints, responding to citizens' complaints. It's not like we have a GPS that tracks the movement of the car. But for example, if say our contracted time is 200 hours, you're just throwing out arbitrary numbers for that particular month, and the computer, I go in and run a report, and based on the number of calls that the officers responded to, because they can, you know, click through and say, I don't want to include property watches. So it'll exclude those calls. And so say they then only spent, you know, 39 hours on calls for service and the paperwork to do those calls for service. That left, you know, 63 hours roughly to patrol the street that month. So it should, you know, in there, then we should see the directed patrol sheets of here's a directed patrol on McQuong, here's a directed patrol on Lakewood, Hog Island, whatever streets that they want, so that with those, then we can track where the officer is, and that would, they should have enough time at that point because they only spent 39 hours on calls and paperwork. And that's...
So it should give us that data.
We could give you better, we'll definitely be able to give you better data. Yeah. And, you know, I don't want to 100% commit to a specific report, because I'm still learning the system myself, so I'm not sure. I've seen the reports that other chiefs have been able to run from there, and the data is just so much better as to showing what the officer is doing for, and literally the thing is with that data, if it takes the average officer 2 hours to do a DUI, and all of a sudden I have an officer that every time he does a DUI takes 6 hours to do, then I can say, why are you taking so long? And then I can look at it, is it because after you're just hanging around the office afterwards? And, so it literally will help me in managing the department, plus making sure the officers are doing their job.
It sounds like it's a little more user-friendly with filters and finding the information you need much quicker.
Yeah, I mean, the Spillman Cat agreement system was built in 1993. And they just like patched it and updated it slowly, where the Velcor system was literally built 3 years ago. So it's modern technology, modern way of thinking for report generations.
Anything else? Move on to health report. Mr. Still.
So currently, the health officer, I'm working on 2 failed septic systems here in the town of Swanton. Both of those obviously in the town. During the last month, I did 3 dog bites that were from a health perspective filled out. 2 of those dog bites were the owners got bit by their own dogs or nipped, and most of it was, one of them was funny. The guy was trying to trim the nails of this little toy dog, and the dog broke the skin when he tried to get away, and it was considered a dog bite. So, and then the one that everybody is familiar with down on Hog Island. 2 trash complaints for the month, 1 resolved, 1 still working on. They claim they're going to have that done this week. If not, they'll be getting a letter and a fine for the trash. There's still 1 property that I've talked to most of you about that I'm still working on with a multitude of state agencies on. It is probably one of the most disgusting places I've been into in a long time. That I don't know where it's going to lead. It might lead to us having to literally hire an attorney and condemn the place because it is that bad. But the state's still working on it. The problem that I've been told by the state attorney general's office is that it could take us 6 months to even start the process for condemning because the courts are so backlogged with civil type complaints.
That's unfortunate though.
Huh?
It's unfortunate just by seeing the place.
Yeah,
you recognize.
Yeah, it's really a bad, sad situation, and that the social service agencies aren't willing and aren't able to lend a better hand in this.
I'm not sure they have the capacity to help.
Well, that's the problem is that, the courts, the initial court process that we did with Northwest Medical Center, the court just bounced it back to social services and said, you guys need to take care of it. And all of them are just pointing the finger at other people. And if you keep going around in a circle, and it's almost like they want us to do the job and spend the money to condemn a place and then let the court go back to saying, all right, now you're a ward of the state for this adult, find a place for them, where the social services should just take the ball.
Any questions?
The last health thing was that we issued a ticket for illegal burning.
Well, this place that you're having the runaround going around, are any other people, neighbors or so, are they affected by this, or does it cause are they in a situation where something bad can happen to them because of this place?
I don't know if anything bad can really happen to them, and that's why I think the state is dragging their feet, and it's mostly, the majority of the problems inside. There is some refuge that's outside of the home, but the majority of it is inside.
The only thing that I want to add is the rubbish problem that we had on First Street. It looks like it's been moved to inside the garage now, so I don't know if you're aware of that.
If it's inside the garage, it's new, because literally what happened was that landlord was willing to hire the village crew to come clean it up. They went to go clean it up. There was a group of citizens that saw the dumpster that had literally filled the dumpster with everything that was out. So if there's stuff inside the garage, it's new.
Yeah. If you
So
go by, if
that-
the door is open, you'll recognize the pile of garbage inside the garage now. so.
It's also leaking out to the side.
I will work back on that one, because the landlord is in an eviction process with those people currently, because they have trashed the complete inside of it.
Yeah.
Because all that trash that was outside was inside initially.
As you notice, there's been no garbage cans outside, there hasn't been a trash receptacle. It's a few times the door's open, you can clearly see that it's piled up.
Oh, yeah. I will work back on that one, let the landlord know the garage is filling up now, so that we can address that.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Bill? All right, thank you, Chief. Appreciate your effort.
Take care.
Moving on to Old Town Business, VHB Lake Street and Quam Shore scoping study. Dave?
Yeah, our next meeting, 20th, VHB is sending their final presentation.
July 20th?
Yeah, for what they're going to be recommending for alternatives for Lake Street and Plum Shore Road.
Okay. Nothing else on that? BB Road Culvert Grant update, David, if you want to give us that.
Yeah, what I need, today,
I didn't hear what you guys had to say about the McCollum Road scoping study. That's the sidewalk? Is that the sidewalk
from
project?
from Lake Street through
Right.
July 20th, with the consultant that came up with the alternatives will
Okay,
be making a public presentation.
okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, so it's either you can be here or you can watch it on Zoom.
No, I don't like that Zoom stuff.
I don't need
I don't, I'm not a actor, actress, whatever, you see what I'm saying? I like to be here.
It's all sure.
Yes. Right, Mark?
Sure thing.
Well, if you send me your email address, I'll put you on a list for the agenda for that meeting.
Okay.
And
My wife will. She
Okay.
talks to you all the time.
Okay.
I send you, where's the minutes?
Oh, okay.
I'm the one.
You're Mark Pan?
Yes.
All right, now I know who that is.
Not me.
Now you got a face to
Not
it.
me.
Okay.
All right, we'll get that to you though.
But thank you very much. Sorry, I couldn't.
Yep, no, you're good. All right, well, I already have your address.
Okay, thank you.
BB Road Culvert, Dave?
Yeah, today, the state sent the grant agreement to sign for the grant, and in here I specify what we're getting. It's a $134,000 project. They're going to be paying $121,121 towards it. We pay a little over $13,000 for the match. But I need the board to approve having me sign this and send it back to them, and then they'll sign it and send it back to us, and then it'll be ready to go. We can start advertising for engineers to design the project.
Not, my understanding was in kind is accepted well in that, so.
Right, yeah. So most of these V-Trans grants are in kind, so it's a wash. We don't lose any money, in fact, we gain quite a bit that otherwise we'd be spending on pocket.
Okay. Entertain a motion to accept the V-Trans grant for BB Road?
Well, no, to approve, having me sign it and send it back to them.
Make a motion that we grant David permission to, for the standard state of Vermont grant agreement number B as in boy, C as in Charles 2096, and send it back to him.
Do I hear a second?
I will second that.
All those in favor of having David sign the agreement?
Aye.
By saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carried. Old Town Business C, Navistar truck settlement.
Yeah, we'll be getting $2,500 for them. It's been going on for 2 years now, or more. That deals with the international, the whole thing is when that truck.
That was for 2,500 or something like that?
Yeah, and that was a a choice. You could accept a $2,500 flat payment, or if you wanted more, you had to prove all the extra costs that the defect caused repairs, the need of repairs for, which is pretty hard to do. So at that time, Joel opted, and the board opted to go with flat 2,500, which was a lot easier. And
So that's already been approved?
yeah,
The
yeah, that's
2,500?
what the letter says.
Yeah, but I mean, the previous board approved that settlement?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the people I've talked to who've been working on this told me there's just thousands of these planes coming down across the country.
Yeah.
It's a bad truck.
We spent a lot more money on that truck than $2,500.
Oh, I know. But the other stuff is not related to what this is for.
Really?
Yeah.
What was that 2,500?
It has something to do with the emission system, I
Yeah.
think. Causing problems with the truck operating. The other problems we've had with it, numerous ones, and Jane said he wished they would just take the trucks back from everybody and pay us for that.
Does that go back into the highway fund, David, do you know?
Yeah, that's
Anything else on that, anybody? Good. Moving on, Old Town Business Admin Assistant Application Update.
I think it is the one that I added.
Yeah,
That was
next.
E. Yours was E.
Pardon me?
Yours was E. I put it under E. We had an E.
Yeah, the window change order. Late this afternoon, after 5,
Just get the
Bill.
admin assistant.
We can come back to it.
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Well, all right, we have one person who applied for it that the board should discuss under executive session. That's all I have.
What was that to executive session?
Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to.
We're going to do D.
And now E, window change order. Bill McDonough, Cornerstone Windows Construction, emailed me just a short while ago about the clerks wanted a quote on what it will cost to do the 2 big square windows up front. And he consulted with Bordeaux's, and they want 1,148 plus 15%, something related to that. And James called me after he got the email I sent to all of you. I don't know if you read it again or not.
I did.
And he said it's not worth it. You just hire somebody potent on it afterwards. So the 1148 would be in addition to what he already bid on.
Right. 11, I mean, I've never done that window tinting, but it seems high. I don't know what the cost would be for somebody independently to come in and do it, but would we have some kind of blinds or something, just shut the window down completely, but
Kathy does have one.
We do, but we inquired it because we don't have a big issue, but with the glass, with the glare from outside,
Yep.
it's hard for, like, when David comes up, he can't see anyone in the camera, unless you go right in front of the glass. So that's why we inquired. It wasn't anything we absolutely have to have. We inquired about
Yep.
what it might cost, and then we would go from there, so. Not sure what it would cost.
Any other thoughts?
Somebody asked.
I agree, it seems quite a lot of money. I feel like there's other solutions to tint it for far less.
So he wanted an answer. So if the board doesn't approve, I'll email him this.
So if you don't know what the other alternatives are.
No, not at this point. But, I mean, it's not a necessity. It's just, like Kathy said, when you're standing at an angle from over here, you can't see anybody behind that. It's a mirror of what's outside. So, anyway. I don't even know if tinting would really help or not.
I would assume it would, but again, what's the alternative? But we don't know, and if he needs an answer tonight, I don't think that's probably something he's gonna get in his favor, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, it's up to the board.
You guys, if you wanna make the motion to approve
It's a
it,
lot
I'll put it
of
to the
extra money.
Well, I don't know. I mean, is that something that you think is necessary to do, Kathy?
We don't have a big problem with it. There is definitely a glare, but we at my desk, I've been standing when he comes in. It's just anyone, like if you were to stand here and look along the seat, you wouldn't be able to tell if someone was standing there. But where Tanya and I are positioned, we can see when people come in the door and we can see them. It's just that anyone, like David said, if he stands on the edge, he can't tell if someone's up there.
You don't want to be walking down the hallway saying anything because you can't see.
Yes.
Yeah, but this is a public building. Everything you do is supposed to be available for the public.
Right.
So this is take what you're saying when you.
Well, it may make a difference, but just.
My thought, you know, we're this far into it, and, you know, we did end up going to this guy, and he gave us the best deal. I'm saying, well, it's here, go ahead and do it. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I might tend agree with you, but my concern is that the best way to address it, or are there other alternatives that would make the building more energy efficient? You know, maybe blinds. Some of these modern day blinds are supposed to keep the heat out and the heat in. You know, if you really were bad and you needed to cut down on glare, and other days you probably wouldn't need to use them. I don't know. You know, really, is tinted glass the best solution to the?
Right.
And who would you talk to find out about that? I mean, what did the guys that are supposedly doing the job? What were they? Did they have any other recommendations than that?
No, he just gave a quote, I guess when he was here taking measurements. Tanya was here and I think she asked about it. So he didn't make any comment in the email as to whether he thought it was good or not.
I guess personally, I would like to see more options before I said yes or no to anything.
I didn't think that's all the table the thought process of Tim. I know he needs something tonight. You need a motion on him. See anything?
Just wanted to remind you folks that Windows by Gordon is owned by Gordon Clements, lives in Swanton, and has done some work at the depot, and he's given Swanton a pretty good deal.
Right, we've already put the windows out for bids and accepted
Yeah, but
bids.
this Gordon by, what do you call it?
Windows by Gordon.
Yeah, but they just do the blinds and stuff, right? They're the ones that make
Right.
those.
You were talking about a blind to keep
Yeah.
the heat out.
Yeah,
and,
they don't actually do.
Okay, I thought you were talking about.
Yeah.
No, talking
okay.
about blinds.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whether we want to table the blind thing, it sounds like the board's not in favor of going with the Dan at this time, so.
Yeah.
We're all fine with that discussion. Right. We don't need a motion on that, either. Moving on to Newtown business request for town constable appointment. That's something that we're going to table at this time and have further review on if there was an interesting candidate. I don't think we've seen any paperwork from my understanding.
Remind him about the.
He's here.
Oh, you're, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Hi,
sorry.
I got your message, but I was up in Northeast Kingdom, I didn't get it back till I was
Oh,
down.
okay, all right.
So,
Yeah, I didn't know, I didn't hear from you, so I didn't know.
yeah, well, you said to show up, so.
Sure. You can
Yeah.
pull up a chair.
Well,
I
I'm
can
chair, so we'll
explain why you want to be constable.
Yep.
I didn't get the name.
Patrick Barrett.
Who? I'm a little deaf.
P-A-R-A-H.
I don't speak.
You said Carol?
Para, okay.
P-A-R-A-H.
Thank you.
I came in and talked to David a couple weeks ago. I can't pronounce his last name, I call him.
Jessica.
But Sutton and Mr. White knows me.
Yep.
I am a vet, 18 years in the military. I did work at a federal prison in Virginia. I got out of the military. I would just like to help the town out as much as I could. You know, I'm basically retired now. I'm 55. I have plenty of time. And, you know, I think I did a good job at it.
Is there a job description or anything, David, that you had for that?
No, it's a state created position. Essentially, the only thing a constable for a town would do would be to serve notices or summons to people. And the town usually don't pay any salary, it's paid by the attorneys or whoever hires a constable to go and serve the sentence. So that's essentially the gist of the position.
I'm not looking for any salary.
Yeah,
That's not my objective, mine is just to, put some money in for the town and, I live in the village now, but I lived in the town prior to that.
And there are no police duties, you have to have a training for that. Constables are authorized to get dogs that are troublemakers, that sort of thing. But other than that, it's not really much else in the way of duties, which is why I think the state job description of it is pretty light.
Questions, concerns, thoughts?
You haven't got a copy of what the state's job description is.
Excuse me?
You don't have a copy of what the job description is yet.
No, I just came in and talked to David,
Yeah.
when I had a couple people approach me, some guys that work for the highway department and stuff, and knew my background and stuff, and asked me if I put in for it.
No, that is an elected position too.
No, it's
Not
either
anymore.
appointed or elected. Depending on the town, how they decide to do it.
It used to be an elected position in Swan, it's no more.
I'd have to check, it's been so long since we had one.
But you probably never had anybody that wanted to run
It was
for it.
Derek for a while.
Yeah, but I don't think he ran for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my suggestion at this time would be probably table this and look into this a little bit more to see can't we make sure that he understands it if we do so want to go that way, that he understands that role in the state. And,
Well, I know there's no arrest authority and stuff like that.
no, like I say, I mean, other than just being new to us coming here now, I would certainly concerned of entertaining a motion, not really knowing what we're getting ourselves into or not, so to speak. No offense to you.
Oh, I don't, not taking.
Yeah, so that would be my suggestion, is that we table at this point and come around next meeting and have it on the agenda again and take action from there.
Yeah, in the meantime, David might be able to give you a copy of what the state's job description is for that constable job, so you'll know exactly what it is, because there might be something in there you might not be interested in either. I never read it myself, so.
I mean, I spent 8 months in Iraq and Kuwait, so I'm sure it's not more difficult now.
Yeah.
No.
Thank you for your service as well.
Yes.
Things.
Do you need a motion for that to be tabled?
No. And as soon as I get some information, I'll get it to you.
I'll put your number in my contacts.
Okay.
That way when you call me from it, you won't get the voicemail. I'll just get it. So.
Okay.
I think it's the best thing to do, just until we don't get a little better understanding.
I'd like to make a motion that we table it until David can give us a little bit more information. We'll bring it up to the next meeting.
Your second then?
I'll second it.
All those in favor of tabling
Aye.
council position?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion carried. All right, thank you. We certainly appreciate your input.
And our next meeting is July
2021.
20th.
All right, community and economic development, Elizabeth?
Okay, so we'll start with Dave. Leader evaporator update. We just need to clean up when the money was put out, we didn't actually do a motion approving the money to be dispersed because it was handled in a separate bank account. So we just need to kind of clean that up. So,
Well, the money was approved to disperse, it's just that we don't do a warnings like we do because it doesn't go through our ledger, it has to be kept out of our, separate, out of our together.
Is this the last dispersal?
no, this is
No.
the first
First
two.
two.
Because you made you agreed through a motion to disperse the money in total, but then now you have to make a motion to disperse each dispersal, which we didn't do. So
For each dispersal, you have to.
you have to. So
Yes.
you'll have to do another one. So
You need two motions.
So, well, I think we can do it in one, that there was, so on March 10th, we dispersed, of 2021, dispersed the first 500,000. And then on April 15th, dispersed the second 250. So it just needs to, if you would, the motion just to approve the dispersal on March 10th, and then on 500,000 on April 15th, 250.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and pass the dispersal on March 10th for 500,000 and also the one on April 15th for 250,000 for the leader evaporator.
Do we hear a second?
I'll second it.
Ed first, I'll second that. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried.
Hey, we're not talking about the stone rental,
Who?
the stone rental proposal? It's on the original agenda.
Don't see it on here.
It's on the one that was on the email. That's 5B. The one that went out last week.
Would you like my copy?
Is it on there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, sir.
Sorry about that, I just realized it was on. Oh, and the, oh,
Okay, glad to live with
okay. Sorry about that, I just noticed. So the downtown scoping study, I don't really have an update. I got very excited and thought we could do part of it. If you came to the draft report, they suggested and the trustees approved a three-way stop at the First Street and Grand Avenue intersection. So Reg and I thought, okay, we'll just talk to V-Trans and all, no, it's not that easy. So we were hoping to get that done this year, but we have to go to design and construction, so it will be probably next year. So we kind of skipped a step. So I thought I'd have a bigger update, but we don't. So that was the disappointment. Riviera Hotel, I know a couple of you have people are interested in that. It's the new state fiscal year, so they have money for brownfields, and we will be going before the Department of Environmental Conservation. I believe it is next Monday, and so hopefully we should hear shortly that how much, they can't fund the whole $30,000 cleanup because there's part of it they just don't fund. But Northwest Regional Planning will have money in August that we're hoping will fund the rest of the work plan.
The cleanup, is that
I
the
should
tear
say
down or
work-
just the cleanup?
I should say work plan. I got ahead of myself because, so we're on phase 2, phase 3 is the cleanup.
Okay.
So phase 1 is, we think there's an issue. Phase 2 is, yes, there's an issue. Phase 3 is now we clean up the issues.
So you don't know exactly what the issues are, or is that?
We do know what they suspect are issues, so they're gonna go in and verify what are actual issues through the work plan.
And that's what that grant from the state is going to be for?
That's what that will be for, and then, so there are different pots of money to do different things, so you can't commingle work plan funds with cleanup funds. So they have to be separate pots, so there may be some money to do cleanup, but we gotta get the phase 2 done before we get the cleanup. But you will see some folks hopefully around there, so it's the next step in getting that.
So if that comes up 100,000 cleanup, where does that
Then we're
money
gonna be looking for 100,000 and, hopefully we got some cleanup money.
go? No, we don't have any now.
Correct. Because we don't know how much.
And what you're applying for now is just
Strictly.
phase 2.
Yes. So it's
Who's the contractor? Or do you have?
KAS. KAS. It's nothing major, so it shouldn't cost that much. There's some ash in the basement. There's rumored to be an oil tank or some kind of tank underground. Nobody's exactly sure where it is, so it may not even be an issue. But that's what they'll do in phase 2, is see if there really is an old oil tank, and then phase 3 would be get it out. But the cleanup should not be that big of a deal. But I just jinxed us.
Now, if you're looking for 30,000 just to find out what's wrong, it seems excessive to me.
Well, I asked him, and he said because because another project I'm working on for the other job, it's 10,000. But they have potentially less issues, but I'm hopeful, and I'm really not an optimist, that some of the issues aren't really issues, but they have to think that they're issues.
Have they, has this been out to bid, or is this a done deal if we get the grant with this firm?
They have to do, I believe, they have to do a mini RFP, but it would come through state approved. We don't have to, the village doesn't have to do the RFP. The state would do it through their approved list of people who do it. Chances are it's going to go to KAS anyway because they've already done the work on it, so they're familiar with the project.
Well, even the village doesn't really have much say in it. If the state approves it, they're going to pay these people this much to do this job.
Yes, yeah. And then we will start looking for cleanup money. And hopefully it doesn't cost that much. So, but you should see, hopefully by the end of, by sometime mid to late August, I'm fairly confident that we'll get the funding for it.
And just for clarification, this is village, you're just
It is
giving us the
village. I'm
update
just
under the
giving
umbrella.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yep.
Just so you know.
Yep.
Southern Growth District, we're seeing some interest. You may know that like all of that property is for sale on both sides of 105.
No.
207. Just checking to make sure you're paying attention. So there's been some interest, just so you know, that I have not forgotten about the Southern Growth District. But it's, it's privately owned, so unless and until we get.
Well, there's some rumors out there, there's true about part of that property, some other commercial, bigger box stores, libraries. It is attracting some interest.
Yeah. So.
Now, on that Southern Growth District, water and sewer is an issue, isn't it?
It is. I, again, am an optimist that now that the St. Albans City and Town have worked out their issues, that it won't be as big of an issue as it may be, depending on what goes in there. If it's something that doesn't require a ton of water, it may not be an issue, but I think that there are ways to work that out.
Has there been any discussions between Swan and, it would be the city,
Several
actually.
years ago, right. And Dominic has an ordinance that was passed several years ago about how a project is judged that wants to locate in our Southern Growth District. And essentially what it is, the private developer has to meet all these criteria that he set up. And then it's up to him to decide whether to approve granting them, the extension out there. So it's...
He has to have reasons. It's not like he can arbitrarily say, I don't want to. But if you don't agree with it, then you go to environmental court. And how many people want to go to environmental court? I don't know.
Well,
I have a copy of it I could email to you.
yeah, I would certainly like to see, maybe that's something really ought to look at, updating.
Well, that's the
their
St. Albans
ordinance.
City ordinance.
Which is kind of my plan.
Well, you have that conversation right behind the scenes and then bring it forward.
Right, and we've, just had some conversations with him about other things to kind of build some relationship and just, if it gets to that point, just, say, here's what we've got going. The biggest thing is they don't want it to detract from their downtown.
Makes
And
sense.
you can't blame them for that. Do they really want a hotel that's going to fight with the Hampton Inn, or want something that's going to take away? Again, but to his point, we don't want anything out there that's going to take away from our downtown.
Has there ever been a study on what it would cost the town to work with the village to get water and sewer out there?
Reg just said, yeah.
There are ways to deal with that, there's a company out west, Rainco it's called. They can build localized sewage treatment where it goes into one tank for solids and it gets pumped into another. In the second tank, there are a series of filters in there that do the job of a leach field, and when the water comes out, it's clear. And they can do this either for a single home, for a small development, or for a larger development, depending on how it's designed. And in that respect, it can actually open up areas that otherwise have no municipal water and sewer for development. And particularly in New England, we have a lot of rocky landscapes, and that might be far away from the centralized sewer that can't get to it cheaply. They can set something like this up and serve just that little area. So I can send some information out on that too for the board to look at and consider for that area. And if a developer set up something like that, normally the way it would work is they pay to do that, and then they charge whoever hooks onto it later. They'd be like a private sewer and water instead of the municipal, and that's a possibility. So anyway, I'll send that information that I have on that out. And one of the representatives for that type of wastewater treatment actually lives here in Swanton. So I'll ask him if he can provide more information on that.
Anything else on the subject, Ross? Potential new business, E?
This kind of another one of those updates, can't really give you much information, but just so you know what I do. We are working with a business to move into Swanton. It involves food.
Involves what?
Food.
Good.
So I think it would be a great fit for where we're thinking of putting it. And I think Nicole happens to know who it is just because she's dealt with them. It would be yummy.
Good rumors. Any more conversation you've heard anything on Carroll concrete property? Nothing?
No, we're trying to work out a plan, but just putting some pieces together that's slow.
What about my old property?
When are they, they're out this month.
This one, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a private sale for them to put it up, and I think Tim had heard August, but I'll ask Tim to follow
So
up.
it's not for sale now?
It is not. I want to get everybody and all the equipment out. But, I think again, just in the last few months, he's had another 2 or 3 people interested in space. So,
All right, do you want to discuss the stone proposal now?
Or you can have it, Mike.
Right. I do know.
Didn't you ask about the stone window?
No?
Elizabeth, I think Elizabeth mentioned it.
well, it's just
Are you
on
on
the,
this-
on the old
excuse me.
agenda.
We got-
Stone lintel.
Are you on the stone lintel proposal?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd like to hear about it.
yeah, I'm
We
not.
got I only know because I thought I got a proposal or something in the mail about it, or a copy of something that says that you sent the email. It came from the.
I didn't see it, that's why.
windows.
Well, it's on the agenda.
I was
it
wondering
sent
where it
out.
was.
Yeah, I don't know what they are.
It involves the stone lintel over your big window, right? Or was it-
Oh.
No, there's a small
The
window
J&L
over here.
masonry.
Yeah, J&L
Okay.
masonry, now it's
Okay.
coming to
That's
me.
what
I
it
got
was.
an email, there's
Yeah.
a lentil over here that's
Yeah.
falling, deteriorating.
They need to be
and
replaced.
It's coming apart,
Yeah.
literally.
Right.
Because when I got it, I walked around the building to see what he was talking about, it was the first I heard of it. And it's over here, I believe it's this one right there.
So, Mr. Kilburn, one of the lintels above one of these windows is deteriorating. While we were in the process of changing the windows, it was recognized to say, okay, what do we do to change that? How can we change that? Who can change it? There was a quote that came in from J&L Masonry that he was able to locate a piece that he could replace with that.
So it would be stone?
That was my understanding, yes.
Yeah.
Without any, I didn't see the email, but not being on here, I think that, I don't remember the dollars and cents exactly. I think it was 2,000 something in that area. So without that in front of me, I don't
Yeah, I
entertain the
remember
motion on
that, I
it.
remember that email.
I think that we may have to table that one because without that on this agenda here, we're probably too late.
Yeah, the windows won't be done until late September, early October.
If you want something on that, we can get that to you. So you can-
Yes. I mean, it's an extremely historic building. I'm
Yep.
just hoping whatever it is that it's compatible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So David or Kathy, or whatever
I'll
you
find
guys
the email.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and try to find out, you know, Ron's concern is very legitimate, find out what, is he actually using stone, you know?
It's the estimate we have.
$2,350 was the estimate to replace it.
Will replace with lintel with a new pack and stone lintel. Order and texture will vary compared to the existing. The new lintel will be installed using a Type O spec mixed mortar. Estimated cost, labor and materials, $2,350. Any altercations or deviations from the above specifications involving extra costs will become an extra charge over and above the estimate. Any maintenance required after a year from the completion of the project may be subject to a service fee. It also states that they will be removing the existing damaged lintel located on the Academy Street side of the building.
It's on that side.
Yeah.
Which side is it on?
It said Academy Street. So
I thought he was talking about the one over the big picture window.
How long did he say it was? No dimension?
I have any
No
clarification.
Because the only one I found that was bad was the one
I
that
thought it was over here.
was over here.
Well, you may have got the streets mixed up.
I think we just need to,
Because the school was here,
Yeah,
so
because when I
yeah.
walked in, we walked around, we got it, I walked around and the only black one, I believe it's this one right
I
here.
think we just get verification on what street it is before we make a motion.
And you might just think we're on Academy Street, so
Exactly.
Yeah, for the next meeting, we should, make sure we know what window it is. And then, you know, maybe, I suppose you can't get a sample, but at least a picture of what kind of stone he's going to use. So we can see, you know, have an idea or make sure that it's something that is going to fit the character of the building.
Nothing else on that? No? Okay, thank you. Highway Department updates. James is not here. We did get the truck back from Clark. Said it appears to be running fine. They promised that this would be the last time that they'd figure it out. Apparently it's running, so knock on wood. And I'm sure he'll have more to bring up on that update once he
How
comes
did we
back.
make out on that bill, Kathy? Did they ever get back to us
they
there?
did, we're paying it.
The
They
full
said,
amount?
they said it, yeah, the full amount, they said it's a different issue, it wasn't the same issue.
Okay,
So James told me to pay it, we talked to both guys down there, and he said it was a totally different related issue to the original problem.
okay, thank you.
Oh, Ned, you were in the car business, we always pay. You were that way, you know that.
One way or the other.
Yeah, one way.
Either you're paying or he's paying. All right, any other necessary business?
Any other necessary business? Okay, I do, the COVID money. Hasn't really been much discussion about that. You know, I know there was some talk, I talked to James a little bit about it, and I did miss the last meeting, about what can be done with it, what our options are, and what the limitations are.
Did you see the emails I sent out, or do you want?
When did you send them out?
Would have been right after the last meeting.
Okay, I'll have to go back a little further.
Or what I
than
can
that.
do is, would you prefer hard copies? Or do you want me to?
Yes, I
Okay,
would
so
actually,
make
yeah.
hard
To
copies.
see what their restrictions are. I seen some stuff in there about a contract and all this, but I didn't see any, you know, specific listings of what.
Wait a
There's
minute.
another email that, because I read the interim final rule, and it has some information, so I'll get you some hard
Well, how
copies.
much flexibility we have on it.
In some cases, it's very flexible, in other ways, it's pretty strict. You're not getting a paving project out of it unless you can really justify it has to do with code and good luck with that. But in other ways, I mean, you could do some street staging if you can justify public health. I mean, anything that's public health, whether it's related to COVID or not. So, yeah, but I'll get you that.
That all has to be put in writing and proof of those.
And if you don't use it for approved funds, then you gotta pay it back, so I think we'll be very careful, because we don't wanna pay it back, that would be bad,
If you don't use it for something that's approved.
that gets approved, yeah. And I think Katie Buckley, who used to be with Agency of Commerce and Community Development, is now with DCLT, and that is her job is specifically to tell you if a project is an eligible expense. I reached out just out of curiosity, a revolving loans fund would be an eligible expense.
For,
So what I thought was.
You're talking for economic development?
Yeah, I thought maybe it could be a bridge until the leader starts paying back.
Yeah.
Then we would have a bridge between now and then would be
Yeah.
an eligible expense. That was one idea that I
I think
had.
maybe one of the most viable ones that sound a little easier to do possibly.
And I think, we have a number of small businesses who, some have weathered it because they were essential businesses. I don't know about the liquor stores or the hardware stores, and a lot of them stayed open and I think did a good business. But some of the other ones, or sole proprietors who were out of work, or because even when you were allowed to go into work, they couldn't have 2 clients at a time, so they lost business. So I think that there might be, that was one idea.
We're starting new businesses that are essential.
Yeah.
So if you were in food production or something like that, if you were gonna have a revolving loan fund, some of that money could be used, but that would qualify because that's food is essential.
There is, and it is in the village, but there is a business who would have expanded had it not been for COVID. That's a perfect project to provide that business with some funds.
Throw this out here for thought too, because I think, we should really be thinking about this. And I'm sure that once the public gets aware of this money, we'll probably get more ideas. But if you were talking public health, if that definitely qualifies, that Memorial Valley Rail Trailhead, might be able to put some of that money in there to develop that to our advantage when they come up with plans.
It's a potential.
And maybe something with this, our own recreation paths in First Street. I don't know, there are things that we might be able to do.
And I think it's thinking, in some ways, it's almost like a wish list. And what are things that you've wanted to do or that need to be done that you haven't been able to do? And if we can justify, either it's a public health issue, it's an economic development issue, because of COVID, those are some of the things that we can, the thing to keep in mind, there is no match for any of this, but you cannot use it as a match for other federal funds. So, but I think that there are some interesting ideas.
Yeah, I think there's maybe a little bit more homework and some background work to be done on it, but I think there's an opportunity for such things such as you're saying to.
Because when does that become available?
Oh, David's already requested the money, and we should be getting it between, when did you request it?
Oh, it was about 2 weeks ago.
So we should get it by mid-July. And then it has to be obligated by December 31st, 2024. But it doesn't have to be spent until 2026.
Oh.
So if we get a revolving loan fund, as long as that money is obligated as a revolving loan fund, it doesn't have to be revolved. So, and I think that's not the one that we have to do, but I think that there's something, I think that could really help some businesses.
Yeah, I think it's just important we continue to look at it and understand it, and where can we apply it, and have discussions without getting caught up in some of this other stuff that certainly, what you need to do with it, and at least the conversation piece of it is important, that's all. Any other necessary business? Correspondence, David, do you have any?
No.
Okay. I do have this one here pertaining to the 4th Street property community input event. This is scheduled for July 24th, 2021 from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. At 23 4th Street. I will read this, so just bear with me. Who are we? A community committee has been tasked by the Swanton Selectboard to consider recreation options for the vacant property on 4th Street previous to the town garage. Where is this? The property is next to the recreation path and across the street from Swan Elementary Central School building. Our mission? Provide the Swanton Selectboard and the community with a comprehensive plan for recreation and community opportunities to the fit and healthy path in the western terminus of the Memorial Valley Rail Trail. They are asking for to hear the input from the community. There are fun family outdoor activities, free Ben & Jerry's ice cream, local motion bike trailer, and giveaways. So it's important again for the community that everybody hears from you, including us, to help us make a community decision what's best for the community.
What was that date again, Mark?
July 24th, from 1 to 3. So again, if you are hearing this, I'm sure this will be posted in many various social groups. It's important that we hear from the community as a whole, not just a small select few. So it's a big thing for all of us.
Brings up something else, Nicole, you got that Facebook page done yet?
Yeah, it's up and running.
Swanton,
Town of Swanton?
Facebook.
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna get Susie to go on there.
I can show you after if you have a moment.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Does anybody else have any correspondence? All right, moving on to public comments. Anybody here in house? Zoom? Mark, did you want to add anything?
You're muted.
You're muted, Mark. Hey, you have to unmute yourself. You're still muted, Mark.
Okay, there we go.
There you are. So Mark, if I may, before you get going, just because you missed the first public, just to make you aware, I'm sure that you know that you are, it is being recorded for public purposes in Zoom, okay?
Certainly.
Okay.
So to answer your question, not at this time.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Anybody else? No, we're good?
I would just like to share with everybody the Missisquoi Valley Summer Passport. If you haven't gotten a chance to check it out or pick up a copy, there are some available here at the town clerk's office, as well as Swanton Recreation and the Swanton Public Library. It's a great resource to explore the Swanton community as well as our neighbors Highgate and Franklin. Thank you.
And I'll say, I saw that last week. I thought it was a great thing, first for Swanton, so I encourage anybody to get a copy and go through it, because I think it's another great thing that the rec and other communities got involved with. So again, thank you.
If we're going to be playing show and tell,
Sure.
I got a show and tell. So a number of folks, I wasn't prepared to do this because I didn't know we were doing show and tell, but Swan Enhancement Healthy Communities Task Force, the Rec, and the Historical Society, and if I'm forgetting anybody, Abenaki, I'm sorry, if I'm forgetting anybody, my apologies. We redid the Heritage Walking Tour for Swanton, and it is fabulous.
It is beautiful.
It is beautiful. So they have a UR code, so you can get more information about them if what is on here isn't enough. But color photos, and it is just beautiful. So they will be out and about. Find one and get out and about and walk.
Do you know whereabouts they're going to be located to be able to pick one up?
Some of the addresses.
We're going to pick up that brochure.
There, you got one.
We're in the public.
Yeah.
Well, and I should know that. Do you know, Ron?
I think the Chamber of Commerce will have some.
The
Of course, the library and the Historical Society.
They're being printed now.
Perfect.
So, and actually, I think we're going to debut them at the ice cream social
Perfect.
thing.
Definitely good to have that there, but maybe a few of the more popular local stores too wouldn't be such a bad idea.
The other thing I'd like to do is get them to the, we only printed 2,000. And that's what because it was grant funded, so what I'd like to do is see if we can pay to get some additional ones funded and get it to the Albert Welcome Center.
Yeah.
Get it to the, maybe George, although they're going the wrong
Yeah.
direction, but we can get them to turn around. So get them outside of Swanton too, to draw people in.
I'll do the northbound.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, there's one up there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too far up the hill. But anyway, so, and I do want to give a special shout out to Chris Sweeney and Betsy Foreman, because they worked very hard,
Nice.
especially Christine to get that done.
Another great thing happening.
Yeah.
All right, I just have one other thing too.
Yep.
I just wanted to pass around, which I know Nicole is aware that the Swan Arts Council has got that raffle for that $5,000, and I don't think they have a lot of tickets left, but I know they still have some left. I purchased something this evening, and for people that want to purchase something, you can get them at the at the Swanton Library. I believe they're gonna have that drawn next week, aren't they, Nicole?
I believe so. And while you're at the Swanton Public Library, stop by and get your summer reading program and check out their story walk. It's wonderful.
There you go.
Get one going on. All right.
Mark?
Yes.
Yeah, this is for the select board.
Yep.
I just wanted to appear in person and let you know that I'm volunteering. If you ever have any questions about the depot, you wonder what's going on, or you'd like to come down and have a tour, or if you have questions about what's on the property, how's it being utilized, what do we have planned for it, this is a town facility, and I'd welcome you at any time, at your convenience, not mine, because for some strange reason I seem to have time.
Is there public hours that it's open?
Yes, on Friday and Saturday from 11 to 4. And I should tell you, we're getting a lot of interest from people out of town and out of state
Nice.
who are really finding out about this by their access to the internet. And they come down and they appear because they're curious what it's all about. And we try to spend time with them to let them know what this is exactly and to answer any questions that they might have.
Well, you gotta get some of them brochures, down to the depot. You got out-of-town people coming in there because that would show them what else Swanton has to offer.
Yeah, exactly. We do that. We promote this.
Oh, I'm not worried about that.
But you know, oftentimes because of Facebook, things come up. I don't do Facebook, but I hear that things come up where people are offering information as being the gospel about what's going on down there.
Absolutely.
I'd rather let you come down and see for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay?
Good point.
Good, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
But if you do have any information you'd like to share, I'm happy to put it up on the town Facebook page.
Yeah,
Thank you.
The official.
the official one,
Yes.
which is, you know, we're trying to get organized so that everything that's going on in Swanton can be found in one place.
Yes,
And Nicole just loves that stuff.
I can tell.
All right, moving on, upcoming events. The next select board meeting being held is Tuesday, July 20th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in person and here by public Zoom, with public hearing on Lake Street and Longshore study by VHV at 1 Academy Street, Swanton. The next DRB meeting is Thursday, July 22nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. in person for public at 121st Street, Swanton. And the next Planning Commission meeting is Wednesday, July 28th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in person for public at 121st Street, Swanton also.
This is, I think we forgot to tell David that the DRB meeting is 29th because Amy's on vacation that week.
29th? All right, we'll update that to July 29th.
The DRB.
Yes. Sorry about that, David.
Moving on to executive session, entertain a motion moving to executive session.
I make a motion that we move into executive session. For the select board to receive confidential contract and personal information for which premature disclosure to the general public could clearly place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second that.
Action taken?
I'll move that the administrative assistant application, that we accept the administrative assistant application of Shannon for Shannon. With a 90-day probation period.
And that's to hire her.
What?
To hire her for the
Right.
admin.
Right. To hire for that, the administrative assistant.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Do I have a first and a second? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. David, you'll get in touch with her.
Yep.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn at 8:38.
Second.
I'll second it.
First and a second to adjourn Swanton Town Selectboard at 8:38. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, ayes have it. We are now out of Town Selectboard.
Good job, Mark.